Good evening and welcome to the University of Melbourne. My name's John Paul and I work in the Prospective Students Office here. And tonight we're talking about our Bachelor of Arts here at Melbourne on this Facebook Live. And with me this evening I have two of our one current and one former Bachelor of Arts students. We have Michael Hester. Michael is a second year Bachelor of Arts student and currently the President of the Melbourne Arts Student Society. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Claudia. Claudia Hooper is an arts graduate who's gone on to graduate study and is now out working in the field of communication. So welcome to you both here this evening.
Thank you.
Now, if you have any questions for us tonight, you can post them underneath the chat in the questions box there. And if we don't get to your question during the Facebook Live, we'll make sure we get to them afterwards as well. Michael, talking first about yourself, a bit of background as to what made you want to come and study with us at the University of Melbourne and your journey into your arts degree, but also, I guess, why you chose to study arts at Melbourne in particular and what makes the course unique and different for you.
Yeah, certainly. So I was born and grew up in Essendon, so I'm from Melbourne. And throughout my VC studies, I was here as a Kwong Li Dao scholar. So I was on campus quite often. I'd see all these university students wondering what I'd do, and I sort of tossed and turned for quite a while and didn't decide until my VTAC applications were due. So I ended up selecting the Bachelor of Arts at Melbourne, and I'm now studying a major in economics as well as politics and international studies. And on the side, in the Melbourne model, I've been able to fit a diploma in Chinese to keep my language skills going.
It's a great combination, and we'll talk about Brett's studies later on and what that means to you. Yeah. Claudia, in terms of your journey here to Melbourne and your background, what made you choose the University of Melbourne and the arts degree, and what made it special for you during your studies?
Well, my pathway into Arts Melbourne was a bit of an unconventional one. So both of my parents came back to uni quite late to change careers. So they ended up studying a BA at the same time as me. So I used to go along as a high school student with my parents to some of their lectures, and then I ended up sort of crossing over with my mum. We both took some of the same anthropology subjects. So I guess for me, I'd already had a taster. I knew what it was like to be on campus. I'd sat in on the lectures and been fascinated by what I was hearing. So I knew quite early on, definitely for my bachelor's, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, so it's very much a family journey for you
Yes.
into the arts degree at Melbourne. And Claudia, what subjects did you study and undertake?
So I majored in philosophy and I did a diploma in French. And basically the way the bachelor's works, I was able to fill the rest of my degree out with a few subjects from pretty much all the other majors. I did Latin, Indigenous Studies, History, Ancient World Studies, anthropology, really a bit of everything.
Great. And if you've just joined us, we're here talking about our Bachelor of Arts course at the University of Melbourne. And our first Facebook question comes from Tom. And Tom wants to know was arts what you expected it to be? And Claudia, now that you're on the other side of your arts degree, we might start with you. Did it live up to your expectations of what you thought your 3 years of undergraduate study was going to be like?
I would say it kind of surpassed it. I mean, every semester when I would have to pick my subjects for the following semester, I almost wouldn't be able to choose them because I was so excited by the different course options that were available. And absolutely everything that I did in my undergrad, I look back on now and I find it relevant to what's going on today. I find I'm able to discuss current world politics, looking back at different things that I'd studied in my undergrad. I can't really speak of it highly enough.
And Michael, in terms of your expectations, now that you're in second year and you've completed first year, has it met your expectations in terms of what you were thinking it was going to be like?
Yeah, very much the same as Claudia. My expectations of what it turned out isn't actually what it did. In fact, I found in VCE you're very much orientated, narrow-minded to sort of study your subjects and that content. And I expected the same thing at university, but what I didn't expect was all of the branch-off opportunities that come from that. So even studying Chinese at the Asia Institute, there's always seminars, workshops, conferences on your material to just expand your learning, which is something I didn't see from studying in the more stricter sense.
Excellent. I'll come back to languages in a moment, but just dwelling back on your first year and your first couple of weeks and that orientation, enrolment and first couple of weeks of semester, Michael, I guess what were the first few weeks of uni like and what was the experience of first year in terms of what you went through and what advice you might give to students about first year?
Yeah, it was the first couple of weeks is quite enthralling. It's the middle of summer and there's more students on campus than there ever is all year. All of your lectures are full of maybe I do economics, so there's about 300, 400 students, and can be quite overwhelming. But it's also hugely exciting. You're studying a whole bunch of new course material that you haven't touched on before. You're able to branch out to new people. There's a lot of social events on between the clubs and societies, the interest groups, and within the people you're meeting in your tutes. So it was hugely exciting my first 3 weeks.
And talking about tute groups, on what happens outside the classroom? So in terms of your student experience, I know, like we talked about, Michael, you're heavily involved in the Art Student Society. Claudia, I know you wrote for our student uni magazine, Farrago. So in terms of the wider student experience, what sort of things have you been involved in or have been involved in?
It starts with lots of coffees with people. I think there's a lot of socialising around university, and it's so nice when you finally get to a place where people are interested in the same things as you. I think sometimes in high school maybe you can be dismissed as being a little bit nerdy if you're really into ancient Mesopotamia. But when you get to university, you're next to people who are excited by the same things as you, and from there are so many opportunities to meet new people and do new things. There's lots of volunteer programs at the university. There's all the clubs and societies, and it's a really accepting environment. It's very different from high school. It's so much better, really.
So much better. And, you know, that opportunity to meet like-minded students. I remember when I did my arts degree here, it was meeting like-minded students from all places. Michael, tell us about the Art Student Society and your involvement there.
Yeah, so Melbourne University's got a great culture of sort of clubs and societies and getting involved, not necessarily just in your student union, but as Claudia said, she was involved in Farrago and in publishing. But the Art Student Society is the faculty club representing students within the BA, but with about 2,100 members, we also have a diverse group of people. And what we offer to them is a way to engage in student opportunities. So when you do come to Melbourne, we have our orientation program, our arts camp. We take away 160 campers for a weekend, which is a great way to sort of establish a network. Then after that, we sort of run career and industry nights in different fields, depending on what you're interested in, and basically a way of making coming into university broader than just studying in that sense, and providing a place for everyone to fit in.
Excellent. And if you've just joined us now, we're talking about our Bachelor of Arts degree here at the University of Melbourne. And if you do have any questions, you can pop them in the comments box, and our students here will be able to answer them shortly. Changing gear now and talking, we both talked about languages, but I know, Claudia, you went on exchange, and Michael, you're looking to do an overseas study experience early next year as well. So, Claudia, can you tell us about your exchange experience in your arts degree?
Yeah, so I went to Lyon in France for 6 months, and look, the best thing about exchange is really the kind of confidence it gives you. Once you've navigated, say, the French bureaucracy is one thing. When you come back home, everything just seems so easy. It's very easy to suddenly go and apply for jobs that you might have been nervous about before. And then on top of that, just the time to meet with people from different cultures and backgrounds. I did find that I almost shunned Australians while I was overseas because I just was so excited about having friends from Brazil and Portugal and other places, and also just practicing the language all the time.
And Michael, tell us about your upcoming overseas study experience.
Yeah, so at this stage in my degree, I wasn't ready to commit to sort of a 6-month exchange. And the great thing about the Melbourne model is there's opportunities for study abroad, and that's a shorter term, either 4-week, 1 month, or summer intensive subjects that's going to allow me to go to Fudan University in Shanghai and study a 3-week course, 6 hours a day in Chinese, which is sort of taking my learning outside of the classroom and enable me to sort of work on those communication skills that you can only get from being immersed in the culture, but all at the same time fitting it into my normal load at university.
Excellent. And the other thing that's common to you both is Brett Studies. Now, obviously Brett Studies is a requirement in our Melbourne degree that students do subjects outside of their core faculty. We call it Brett because it is about broadening your outlook on the world, new ways of learning, new ways of studying, meeting students from different backgrounds. So tell us about your experience in tackling and trying to work out what you did for Brett, and sort of what skills do you think your Brett Studies did to inform your arts degree and your wider studies at the university?
So the Brett subjects that I did were largely multidisciplinary subjects. So that means it's getting together people from a variety of different backgrounds to maybe look at one particular issue, but from a variety of perspectives. So I did a subject called An Ecological History of Humanity. So that subject brought together people from science, from biomed, geography, and history. And the best thing about those subjects really is just being in the classroom with people who have very different perspectives. They haven't gone through doing the arts degree. They've come in from a different area, and the kind of questions that they pose are quite different to what you might be. So those kinds of classes were always really interesting. The other advantage for me with breadth was when I was on exchange in France, I was able to do breadth subjects over there. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky getting credits for the courses that you do overseas, but breadth really allows you to be very, very flexible and to study just about whatever you want when you're on exchange.
And Michael, you're in second year now, so what breadth studies did you do last year, and where do you see your breadth studies taking you for the rest of your course?
Yeah, so I'm using my breadth studies to also involve a sort of commerce background. So I'm using economic subjects to sort of get a more quantitative, numerical-based questions and answers sort of learning, which is a very different teaching style to sort of qualitative, open-ended critical thinking that you get in your arts. So I found bringing them together, they definitely complement each other in a way that I didn't think they would. So it's not as though your breadth is just something you do on the side for credit. It actually comes in to bring your degree together.
Yeah, excellent. And don't forget, if you do have any questions, let us know, and I can get Michael and Claudia to answer those questions for you. Thinking about the Parkville campus where we are this evening, and obviously it's a big sprawling campus and a mixture of different styles and architecture, but everyone's got a favourite part on campus. I know I do, after being here for a long time. Claudia, where's your favourite part of Parkville campus to hang out?
I think for me it's just the walk up the stairs to South Lawn where you can see the moat and the old arts building and the clock tower. It always gets me very excited when I walk up that pathway. But just about everywhere on campus is kind of delightful in its own different way, particularly throughout the changing seasons. There's so many beautiful trees and plants and flowers around everywhere. There's places like the Systems Gardens, which are really quiet and lovely place to study. Just about everywhere it's got its own nice little bit. And we're very close to Lygon Street, so there's lots of cafes.
Oh.
Michael, what about you? Where's your favourite part of Parkville?
So it's going to sound biased coming from an art student, but I do love the brand new Arts West building, which is dedicated to sort of be the home for BA students. And on the ground floor, the Art Society has a common room, which sort of opens up out into the student lounge, which is a great space to sort of interact between classes, meet new people and sort of work collaboratively. Not in the sense that it's always everyone in single desks in a library. It's very much open learning environment.
And I guess in trying to wrap up your student experience, and Claudia, we might speak to you, I guess if you were to summarise your arts experience in one sentence and distill it into one sentence, how would you say that was?
Well, I think coming from an arts background, I'm not about that one sentence. I'd rather do a 3,000-word essay. But I think it's just developing those critical thinking skills and to be able to look at the world in a different way.
And what skills do you think now that you're graduated and working in the world did your arts degree give you?
Well, I'm currently working in media and communications, so I help set up a lot of journalists with any kind of questions that they have about just about anything. So it's really important for me to be able to be across all issues and to be able to think of the areas of expertise that are going to best help somebody produce a really good article. So definitely arts has been great for that.
And Michael, for yourself, how would you summarise your arts experience into one sentence?
For me, it's definitely being able to move outside of the classroom into sort of holistic sense of learning and opportunities to complement what you're studying.
Excellent. And this time of year, it's a lot of Year 12 students are applying through VTAC, and VTAC timely applications close this Thursday. If you were to give one bit of final advice for a prospective Year 12 student coming to look and study at Melbourne Arts next year, Claudia, what would that bit of advice be for a prospective arts student?
I'd get them to come on campus and have a look through all of the majors. I think sometimes people will just look at a course in general and they won't necessarily go down to that next level of exactly what they can study. So I think definitely have a look through the full suite of subjects that we have on offer.
And Michael, your bit of advice for a Year 12 student right now?
Yeah, certainly. As well as checking out the handbook, also go onto the University of Melbourne Student Union website, because that gives a great sense of what opportunities are available while you're here studying, whether that be your clubs and societies, getting involved in the union, and what sort of opportunities are available as a university student.
Great. Well, look, thank you for joining us tonight for our Facebook Live event talking about the Bachelor of Arts here at the University of Melbourne. I'd like to thank both Michael and Claudia for your time this evening and your insights. and as a student experience here at the University of Melbourne. If you're watching this after our Facebook Live event, you can still ask your questions and we'll definitely get back to you. But as I said, this time of year, very busy time for Year 12 students applying through VTAC, and also to Special Entry Access Scheme as well through the VTAC process as well. So thank you for your time this evening and all the best for your continued studies.